I am very pleased to announce that my book, Causation, is available for purchase in audio form at audible.com. This 3-hour work is the most comprehensive and lucid analysis of the concept of causation in the English language. Please enjoy the following promotional excerpt from the audiobook itself, professionally narrated by Michael Haytack.
3.0 Causes as INUS-Conditions. The things we describe as causes are really partial causes. Supposing it correct, the sentence, Smith's drunkenness is what caused the accident, must really be elliptical, for Smith's drunkenness is a part of what caused the accident. Had he been driving a car with new tires on an open country road, instead of a car with bald tires on a busy city street, Smith might not have crashed even if he'd been drunker than he actually was. So it wasn't Smith's drunkenness or any other one thing that caused the crash, and was instead a confluence of circumstances. In some contexts, for example, those of a legal or ethical or psychological nature, the relevant partial cause might well be Smith's drunkenness, and that seems to be what we mean when we say that this was the cause. The complete cause of anything is very hard to identify. It is a matter of philosophical and scientific debate whether, given an event E happened at T, anything other than the entire state of the universe just prior to T can be the complete cause of E. So for all intents and purposes, the expression, the cause of occurrence E, never refers to a sufficient condition for E. Even though Smith's being drunk wasn't sufficient for his crashing the car, it will be thought it was necessary for it. Had he not been drunk, he wouldn't have crashed. This is false. Smith's being drunk wasn't necessary for his crashing. If he had been sober, but had been driving too fast on an icy road, he might well have crashed. J.L. Mackie, 1917 to 1981, made it clear what is meant by the cause of E, as this expression is typically used. Smith's being drunk wasn't a necessary condition for his crashing. He could have crashed if sober, but being drunk was a necessary condition for his crashing under the circumstances. Given that he wasn't driving a high-performance car on a country road during a clear day, and given that he was driving a low-performance car on a rainy night on a busy street, Smith's being drunk was, we may suppose, a necessary condition for his crashing. For it could be that, had he been sober, Smith would have narrowly avoided crashing despite the rain, darkness, and faulty steering mechanism, and that it was only these things plus Smith's drunkenness that led to the crash. So, if it is to be correct, the statement, Smith's drunkenness was the cause of the crash, must be taken to mean Smith's being drunk was under the operative circumstances necessary for his crashing. There are just a few more points to make. First, given that Smith did crash the car, it follows trivially that a sufficient condition for his doing so was fulfilled. Second, whatever that sufficient condition was, it wasn't necessary. Suppose that what led to the crash was Smith driving a low-performance vehicle on a dark, rainy night while drunk, even though, by hypothesis, that confluence of circumstance was sufficient for his crashing, it wasn't necessary. Smith might have crashed even while, stone-cold sober, he'd been driving a high-performance vehicle in broad daylight. Thus, Smith's being drunk was an insufficient but non-redundant part of an unnecessary but sufficient condition for his crashing. Smith's being drunk was thus an INUS condition for his crashing. For this reason, Mackie says that, if it is to express a true statement, E was the cause of event E, must be taken to mean that E is an INUS condition for E. In a word, the cause of an event is an INUS condition for that event.